conferred upon you coolness. That like all that's just sort of available and then streaming and the algorithms are sending you you like two-tone or dubstep? Here you go. Here's all the dubstep.
Well,
but also only all the dubstep that the algorithm can like see and rate.
Yes. But I tell you what I think is really, really interesting is when you look at people who are my children's age and Joanna's children's age who are really similar, all right? When you look at their playlists, the range of music in their playlists is massive.
Yeah. And so totally. And I agree, and that's interesting. But the counterpoint for that is that they kind of don't understand any of it. They only get it as another look, another style. Everything is just at a surface layer.
And maybe they just like that music, like listening to it, but don't buy into it in the way that as a kid growing up we were that much more tribal. But I've been trying to figure this out and wondering whether maybe some of the tribalness was just down to the fact that we couldn't afford to have access to everything. We had to buy albums and they cost money, and so you could buy maybe a couple a month or something. So you kind of chose something and you went after it. Whereas
you had to make choices.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you also what am I trying to say here about the tribes? The tribal affiliation meant more.
Yes. Oh, yes. It definitely.
Sorry, I got a guy who just got in my face there. I was almost worried I was going to have to go to ultra-violence.
That was such a New York moment. But I do think I do think it's interesting the way that they interact with music, because it's not the same as the way we did, and why should it be?
Well, so here's the I guess the point I was going to make is that Glenn Gibson said that eventually streaming and digital storage would collapse time the way the jet collapsed space.
Yeah.
Right? But like the net effect of the jet collapsing space was that everywhere became kind of the same, right? It became harder and harder to have an authentic experience.
Yes.
And then the other weird layer is that I feel like the young people only understand sort of clout as in internet attention and money as the scorekeeping systems.
Yes.
That they don't have any sense of cultural capital within a subgroup.
No. I mean, I think maybe a few do. Around spots in London, there are specific, particular people, in particular kinds of bands, and I see it a little bit in Seattle as well from people I know there. But it's a smaller group of people, I think, than it was. I think more people are interested in music, but they're interested in a more general way.
I also think that there is because it's always a moving target.
Yeah.
That there's a revolution brewing. I've started to. I mean, I've actually been sort of propagating this idea, but I've started to see young people picking up on it too. Is that it's time to start developing taste for yourself as an act of resistance to sort of the relentlessness of American capitalism and the algorithm.
Yeah. Oh my God!
The algorithms.
The algorithms. I mean, they're just so powerful, aren't they? They are so powerful.
So there's a book out right now called Filter World, and it's all about how algorithms shape taste and flatten culture.
And the thing is, you must tell me more about that, because that's really interesting. It's not like the algorithm sets out to shape taste in a particular way, is it?
No.
It's not like algorithms looking at it and going, The coolest
Well,
shit
so
of all.
I'm reading this book,
Yeah.
and there's a joke I'm only about, I don't know, 100 pages in, maybe 75 pages in.
Yeah.
But he's like, there's a joke in data circles. A machine learning model walks into a bar. Mark says, "What are you having?" The machine learning model says, "What's everyone else having?"
Well, yes. It's not like an algorithm's there, all right, trying to tell you that you should really like The Clash and not like Justin Timberlake.
Right.
You know?
Right. You don't have like some big cooler than you older friend that's like, "I can't believe you're into this music, Karen. You've got to get your head on straight and start listening to The Clash."
Exactly.
Which maybe goes to explain some of the success of Taylor Swift.
It could do. Do you think there's
Anyway.
also maybe a general feeling amongst young people that fuck it, they'd like to have a good time?
Maybe, but there's more fucking good time music than Taylor Swift. I feel like Taylor Swift's just like I think the danger of her is that she's the most appealing answer.
Yes.
Or the easiest answer.
Definitely the easiest, I think.
Also, everyone that I've met that's like truly into her is an utter dipshit. So
Yeah. Well, that too. Well, you know what? I've been recording the last 5 minutes of this, last 5 or 6 minutes of this, because it suddenly dawned on me that we were actually straight away touching on to what I wanted to talk to you about anyway, without it being about specifically the thing I was going to bring up with you. And what I was going to bring up with you is what is, let me take half a step back and set the scene for why I'm doing this. I did not go through a formal art education. I don't have a lot of history of art history. The art history I know is from going to see lots of shows myself and reading a little bit, but it is in no way the equivalent of, of a BA in art history or something. All right, so my knowledge is thin. So to try and help me, I'm talking to a ton of people to get their opinions. And I don't feel that there's any correct opinion. I just want to get different people's opinions and have a look at where they all kind of point and what things intrigue me more and what I want to follow, as well as obviously what I can learn from it. So,
okay, but some are definitely more correct than others, right?
Yes. Okay, yes, of course, yes. But I mean, I hope that I'm starting out by asking the kind of people who aren't going to have, to use your word, dipshit opinions. All right. I mean, I have done some curation in the people that I'm going to. So one of the things I wanted to try and figure out is what is the place of video. And when I say video, I mean film or video. I kind of mean anything that is a moving image. What is the place of video in art? Especially nowadays that video, moving images are so ubiquitous. You can't go anywhere without seeing them all over the place, on billboards, on screens, on your phone, on your watch. And then we're creating more, you walk down the street and every Nest doorbell's recording you. Where is art in all of that?
Well, I think the first question is probably, where is art, period?
Yeah.
Right? Like, is it in a museum? Is it in a gallery? Is it in your house? And I think that impacts the answer on video in a very significant material way.
Okay.
Right? Like, when you go to an art gallery, if you go to the Whitney,
yeah,
and you see a video piece there,
yep,
you are going to walk into some sort of darkened space, and the film's just playing on loop. So you're going to come into it at whatever point you come into it.
Yep.
And you're going to leave whenever you leave.
Yep.
Right. So in that case, it has no real start and no real end. And the best video pieces that I've seen in museums have been able to leverage that. So they've been sort of ambient in some way.
Yeah.
In some cases where there's a really clear process. So when video first came out, one of the first like big things to be pointed out about it, as compared to film, was that it was essentially infinitely long.
Yeah.
In a way that film was limited by the amount of film you could fit into a camera.
Yeah.
Right. So early video art had a lot of things like someone very carefully holding a Sharpie marker against a piece of paper, and for 8 hours,
Yeah.
and the ink just slowly bleeding out into the page, right? So, you know, as a viewer, you come into that and you're essentially looking at a static image, even though it's you know, technically time passing. And they might even throw, in those years, they might have even thrown up the time code to let you know
that it was video.
That it was video. The time was definitely passing, even though it appeared you were looking at a static image. Right.
Yeah.
I find the piece of moving imagery that I find the most poignant is the live image capture on Apple Photos.
Yes.
You know, where
yes.
you hold down on it.
Yes.
Looping.
Yep.
Because it's this like 5-second snippet, and it's usually, you know, my kids, and you know, now Celia like really frowns in every picture. It's her laughing right before she gets the frown on, right?
Yeah.
And I think there's something to that also, right? That like the very short form and looping can convey a single feeling.
Well, I find those live images really interesting because you can save them as a still, you can save them as a long exposure, you can save them as a loop, or you can save them as a what do they call it? A boomerang?
Yeah.
And there's something kind of interesting about that.
I think it's important to separate out media that has definitive start and end points.
Yeah.
Like movies. Where you're going to a scheduled viewing, and even if it's our movie, it's got a trajectory to it, right? It's saying we're going to start here, and some stuff's going to happen, and then we're going to end.
Yep.
And I think that's maybe what separates cinema or content from art, is that it's you know, it's got a fucking plot.
Yep. Yeah. I like that.
Which I feel like art doesn't necessarily, maybe shouldn't. I've got about 10 more minutes for you, and then I got to pick up my
Yeah, sure. So I'm sure that's great.
So those are and again, that sort of points to my first reframing of your question, which is where is art? Where is film? Film is on a screen,
in the cinema,
in a theater.
Yep.
Right. When it's in my home, it's on a streaming service or a device of some kind. I'm clicking the go button. I think there's possibly, maybe we could think of film as being a more designed thing, or cinema being more designed than art.
Yep.
In some way. And what I mean by that is, if we want to separate out art from craft and design, the center point, the pivot point, appears to be, and I'm not saying it always is, and certainly it's something we could debate somewhat endlessly, but appears to be utility. Right, so I think in having a plot, a film, or a piece of content that you might see on Netflix maybe has more utility, more obvious utility than a piece of art.
Right.
A piece of moving art.
So, what does art do then? Does art?
That's a really big question.
Does art need to? And nowadays, in the context of now, where we are in the 21st century. Does it need to make a statement? Does it need to say something, have an opinion?
I mean, what are we saying it is? You know, is it a financial instrument? Is it just is it a way of does it aggrandize the buyer by projecting their excellent taste?
Yeah, to an extent it does, doesn't it?
I mean, I think it's to answer the question, or the answers to that question are going to be around what is it for? And I think like a lot of to say that art has no purpose at all.
Yeah.
And that is what separates it from being craft, or see if I can say it too.
So you don't think it's particularly important for art to be making some kind of statement, whether it be a social one or a political one, or... No, it could be just nothing. It could just be there and make you... It's going to make you think.
I don't even know if it does. I think that maybe it should make you feel.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when I think about Wapka or Sarah, what about the first thing I'm feeling when I'm looking at that work is an emotion.
Yes.
But like every artist is allowed to come at that, define that for themselves, right? 100%.
Yeah.
So like, part of half, maybe 90% of the struggle of separating yourself out from being someone who makes art that maybe could sell at the county fair and make art that could maybe sell in Chelsea is that the artist's statement has some legitimate meaning.
Yes.
Right? I make this work because X.
Yes.
Because I'm telling stories from the American heartland. Because I am exploring the nature of women's work and trauma. Because I am, doing this or that.
Yep.
Because I am centering silenced voices. I am obsessed with memory.
Yes.
Right? All of those are things that separate it out from being like, here's a painting of some fruit that I want to sell at my farm stand.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. That stuff is more gift shoppy and high art,
or just,
you might call, is something else.
Something a little more substantial, right?
Yes.
I will say also that, like, something that makes an easy statement that is easy for everyone to understand doesn't like, I have really turned on Banksy as an adult. I feel like it's like just so fucking cheesy.
Isn't it? It feels like it's becoming like a kind of cartoon you might see in the New York Post or something.
Yeah.
It seems a bit. It just seems a bit obvious.
Like always was.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, is this just art for fucking idiots?
I think it is.
And is that why, like, they're opening a Banksy museum on Canal Street? And I'm like, he's got to have his own museum because, in the end, work isn't meaningful enough to go in a real museum.
I think when we first saw it, when we were first aware of it, it just felt new and different. It's kind of like glam rock turning up or something. Some new movement, and you're like, wow, look at this, and then
it also looked like he wasn't pursuing any commercial value from it.
Exactly,
right? which was compelling.
Yes,
and then it turned out that he was.
Yes,
and quite a bit,
a shitload, like more than you could imagine. And now it just kind of feels a bit tired. And the other thing is, I don't feel that it's changed in any way. It's not grown. He's just doing the same stuff again and again.
Yeah, right. So, which implies that he's not really been exploring anything.
No.
Right? Because, like, a thing that you can see in work that explores is that there is some kind of progression as the understanding of the matter changes or the understanding of the process changes.
Well, I think the biggest thing that's changed for him is the ways he's figured he can make money from it.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Anyway, ultra corny.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree with you. Not gone anywhere interesting. Not gone anywhere interesting. I wonder. I've realised that it's not even video that is most interesting to me. It's kind of installation-y, performative stuff, which is kind of, I don't know. I feel that's more interesting, but I don't know where there's a place for that, other than some museum, as you say, decides that you have great taste and decides to buy your piece. It's not like for the most part people buy that.
Wherever you deploy it. The other thing in the context of performance and installation, that wherever it's happening is part of it.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think, if your intention is to connect with the art world, then it needs to happen somewhere where the art world is. But if your intention is the village, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
Get on your chicken to the market.
Yeah. I don't disagree. I don't disagree there at all. Are you doing any drawing or painting? Yeah, I know you went through a phase where you were.
Yeah, nothing meaningful right now. I teach drawing in the falls to industrial design students, and I always get a figure model in during that. So I get a little, chance to do a little bit of drawing. And I brought a Sumi ink pen the last time, so it was brush painting from a nude model, which was great.
Oh my God, how hard is that?
Brush painting is fucking impossible.
Yeah.
It is a chaotic tool.
No shit. I've only ever seen that done with people using two arms with a great big one or something. The thought of trying to do something as fine as drawing a person, geez, that sounds impossible.
If I can find some, I'll send it to you. I have a couple photos of it somewhere.
Yeah, well, please do. Please do. Anyway, look, it's getting noisy, and I know that you've got to run. Hey, really quick thing. What are your girls doing over the summer?
We're all going to the river for July, and then August there's a day camp in Prospect Park, and then computer camp at the end.
Nice.
And then we'll go up to Massachusetts and do a little Massachusetts coast activity, and then that'll be it. That'll be time for school again.
Caitlin just finished her first year at Boulder doing computer programming.
Oh, great.
And she's loving it. She's really loving it. They sent her to India on a women's leadership thing because, as you can imagine, there's not a whole bunch of girls on her course, sadly.
Yeah.
And but yeah, she's really loving it. So super happy. She and Bronwyn were over a couple of weeks ago. And then Dylan's coming later. Oh, that's awesome. That sounds like they'll have a great summer.
I think they'll have a good summer.
Yeah.
I've got a ton of work to do, so I'll just be mostly working in the background.
Well, that sounds like a good summer too. If you're making money, then great.
Let's see. Doing all right.
Good.
Anyway, I'm going to pick up now, so I got to
all right.
spray these shits away.
Hey, take care. Thank you very much.
You too. Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.